So I'm going to hand this to Chris because I've been babbling a long time.
Thanks, Ken. So, yeah, it's warming up in here. So I want to just give you a little bit of a story, and it's somewhat about our relationship that might help you in figuring out what you might want to do next. Ken and I will have been married for 4 years on Monday, right? Monday. Yeah, okay, I got it right today. So I missed it by 2 days yesterday. So, but we've known each other for 12 years. And when I met Ken, it was in the midst of a bit of a sense of desperation on my part, because I had become too early in my career responsible for a statewide behavioral health care system. I'm a psychiatrist by training. I love systems, so I chose to take on a system that was in desperate straits. I volunteered to do this job for free for 6 months in hopes that I could actually get the job. That's how I got it, right out of 1 year after my residency, which never should happen, except it did. And when I was looking at the system, choosing to adopt it as the beginning of a mission, I was looking at its characteristics. I wanted to be challenged. Don't make it too easy for me, Lord. Okay? I don't want to have the resources at my fingertips. I don't want to have the resources at my fingertips. Okay? Because I want you to teach me something. Okay? I was looking for the system saying, teach me something. And so I did this job, took it on, and the first thing that my boss told me, my boss was the Commissioner of Behavioral Health for the state, and she's a woman that's just slightly shorter than me, but I was terrified of her when I first met her. Went to work for her on a Monday, and she said, Chris, this is going to be the easiest job you ever had. And I said, in my head, I don't think you're actually telling me the truth. Right? And I said, Mary, okay, all right, and I said, Mary, I don't actually understand what you're saying. And she said, this is going to be the easiest job you ever had, because all you have to do is make it better, and it can't get any worse. Okay? And then she sobered me up. I said, well, what do you want me to do? And she said, well, your first job as our brand new junior baby newbie medical director is I want you to know what it feels like for having met us. And I said, what do you have in mind for me? And she said, on Wednesday, you're going to go sit and represent us on the morbidity and mortality review process for the state. And you're going to look at the situations and the stories of every person who has died. And you're going to figure out why. And I said, thank you. And then I went and started to do such a thing. And as a junior person doing this, there's an enormous sense of responsibility that you kind of naively absorb. You take on the world. I'm here to make a difference. Therefore, everything I can affect. Some things you can't affect. But you can pay attention to what you actually experience and what you're learning. And here's what I learned. First thing I learned when I walked into this setting is I learned you aren't going to see it if you're trying to cover your own rump. Okay? And the way we had designed this particular process for looking at what was happening to people, we couldn't even see why things were going on because we were too worried about who was to blame. That made it more likely that the next person was going to die. So I learned very quickly, it's like if you want to see things, you have to set your process up so that it's safe, It's actually about being able to see, and that what you do is you design, what you do is you design things in such a way that you look for not just the individual story, but you look for the collective story, because that's where you see your patterns. And if you're working on systems, patterns are critical. And if you can affect patterns, you can make big change. So one of the patterns that we started to see, which was just an incredible piece of enlightenment for me, was the pattern of time. Most people in our system, when they died within 4 to 6 weeks of having knocked on one of our doors. And I thought to myself, 4 to 6 weeks, this is really weird. How does this happen? And as a medical doctor, I got really curious, because what people were dying from within those 4 to 6 weeks, as a behavioral health medical director, I thought, oh, we're having lots of people run out there and kill themselves and get involved in violence, do all kinds of things that result in kind of behavioral health death. And that was true, but the main thing that people were dying from is they were dying from things that kill people routinely, common medical conditions. And I asked myself, I said, okay, Dr. Cline, how do people die within 4 to 6 weeks of common medical conditions having knocked on one of our doors? What is that about? That is not normal. That's not normal. What is that about? And then I said, I can't tell from reading through the wheelbarrows full of charts. I can't tell. I'm going to actually have to talk to people who knew these people. And I have to know what was going on in those 4 to 6 weeks, or I'm going to die not knowing the answer to this. So I did such a thing. And here's what people told me. Family members, friends, people who knew these folks in those 4 to 6 weeks. When my person knocked on your door, they came back hopeless. And to hear that, standing there shaking in my boots, and to hear that over and over and over again, and to capture what that meant, and to feel the gravity of responsibility, when you have that innate wanting to assume the responsibility, and you have the literal responsibility because of the position, it inspires you. Okay, it inspires you to move. So when I looked at what is behind this hope thing, what are we going to do about this? I was looking through every piece of anything that I could find about how to do something different. And I literally was finding things in all other industries. And I would read through things and I go, well, this is bad because that belongs to the auto industry. This is bad because it belongs to the hotel industry. Where's the behavioral health stuff? Where's the behavioral health stuff? Where's the behavioral health stuff? And I found one thing. If I stick it any closer to my mouth here, it's going to go down my throat. So, okay. All I got. Okay. So, this is one of my physical limitations, is I actually have no more voice than this. So you'll have to just bear with what I got. Okay. So I went looking through and I found one thing, and only one piece of it really captured my heart. And it was something that Ken had worked on. He had chaired one of these national consensus panels. And the front end of this big report that I found had this word written right on top of it. And it said, welcoming. And I said, hallelujah, I don't have to read 300 pages. I got it. Okay, and I said, and I actually thought this in my mind. This is a little more sharing than you probably want. I thought, I hope that man's not a dork, because I'm going to go find him, because I want to know what he knows. And I did. I actually arranged to go to a medical director's meeting, kind of one of those federal things. He was doing a presentation. He talked about welcome. I looked up there and I saw him. I said, he's cute. No. I looked up there. I saw him. I said, that man has his sleeves rolled up and he's talking about welcoming. I have responsibility for things that are going on back home. I have real people that I don't know what to do in a system that is so strapped I can barely stand to go to work. I have to do something. I'm bringing him back with me. A year later, with my tenacity, he's back in New Mexico with me. And we spent 3 years 3 years, digging into the front end detail, not all the elegance of evidence-based practice. This is back in the day when evidence-based practice was, who knew, right? This was digging in the details of the reality of what the experience is of people when they knock on our doors. Okay? It took no super science to do this. Okay? All it took was, I need to put my feet in the shoes of the people. I need to literally walk to my own doors. I need to look at what's on the door. I need to come inside. What do we smell like to people who have been so pushed back in their lives? What do we feel like? What do they sense when they meet us? What do we ask them to do when we first meet them? And the shoes I'm standing in is not the shoes of the person that I think we're designed for, but the shoes of the person who actually shows up. I have so many things going on, and I will bend myself into a noodle to be exactly who you need me to be so that I can get anything that will help me. So if you need me to have this, I'll have this. If you need me to say this, I'll say this. If you need me to do this, I'll do this. But I'm bringing with me this whole bucket of stuff that really comes with me, and I'm looking for the first opportunity that makes me feel like I need to run screaming from here. Because I am just waiting for the next shoe to land right on top of my head, because that's the way my life goes. And would you please make it happen quickly so I can get it over with? And sometimes when I come in, I actually have learned through trial and error, it's better to make it happen fast. So I may come in and I may do incredibly bizarre looking things and elicit the response myself because it's just too painful to ask for help directly. Okay, so I'm that person. I'm walking in. I'm looking at what I'm actually doing. Now, as a person who's responsible for this system, it was not hard. It was really not that hard to say, okay, let's all start taking this adventure together. How about you over there in Las Cruces? What do you guys want to do? How about you guys kind of up there in Albuquerque? What are you guys going to do in Santa Fe? Okay, how about Grants, New Mexico? What would you guys like to do? Okay, let's all get busy thinking about welcoming. Actually look at yourselves, and then let's come back together and talk about what we're discovering. And in our system, pretty much like I'm assuming in your system, when we came back together to kind of think this through, the first thing that we realized was, you know what? This is all good and well, but we don't walk this walk with ourselves. We're trying to produce a product out there which is a great product to help people with their lives, but we're living in a way with each other that's opposite of this. We actually don't actually like each other all that much. We're mean to each other. When you need me the most, I'm most likely to tell you to go away. This is how we were. And the thing that was really helpful was to say, you know what, it's time we validate ourselves. Okay? There's no way we can actually produce what we're trying to produce steps down the road if we don't value our own experience, if we don't say we're worth it. Okay? It's worth spending some time getting ourselves in order. It's worth spending some time thinking about the value of our relationships. It's worth spending some time feeling good. Feeling good. Because we ultimately pass that down. Okay? And a lot of what our fatigue is about when we provide what we provide is when we work in an opposite framework, it is our goodwill that allows us to carry on against the flow of negativity. And sooner or later, that negativity gets so big and it's so backwards that our goodwill gets overwhelmed. It's a good thing we're good people. We'd have been overwhelmed a long time ago. We're valuable, we're worth it. It's worth getting ourselves in order. It's more fun. It feels better coming to work. Your work works better. You feel more like you've come to do your mission. You can see things start to move. more quickly, there's huge value in saying, yes, please, let's take ourselves so seriously that we actually look at ourselves as an important relationship. Now, we can't not get on the moving train. We can't say we're going to sit around and swirl around forever and not do anything to move to help people. So we have to learn how to do things simultaneously. How do we get through the stuff we actually need to get through, build the kinds of things that we need to build in terms of our own internal relationships, get this good feeling going on at the same time that we're starting to challenge some of the basic things that people need from us yesterday. Because we got to do lots of things, small steps, and get going. Okay. Now this is what that New Mexico experience taught me, and I just want to say this, and I do it humbly. And remember how I started the story. I wanted a stress system. I wanted no access to resources. This was the indigent safety net service system for anybody in New Mexico who had any substance use problem at all, anybody who was homeless for any reason, anybody who had been acutely traumatized, anybody who had serious and persistent mental illness who could not manage to get on our Medicaid rolls. That's what I adopted, okay? Very, 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 very significantly strapped state. We were the back end of the train. We were the caboose as a behavioral health care system, the indigent safety net service system, at the back end of a train as a state. Okay, so the talent that I developed doing this was working on a shoestring. So the only things that we did were we did things that didn't require any new resources because there were none. Okay, so if you're sitting there feeling like that would cost a lot, I can't, reposition yourself. It's not about what you can't do, it's about what you can do. And the grace of all of this is the stuff that doesn't cost you anything is exactly what people need. It's exactly what people need, and you can get going on it when you go back to work today. Okay, you can start tonight when you're looking at yourself in the mirror. Okay, you can start right now. Okay, this does, and you need to get it going together because this is a team sport. This is a team sport. And the better you are together as a team, the better it works, the more fun you have. And every single person who's sitting in your system, just like in all these other systems that we work, you deserve this. You absolutely deserve this. You guys have been through the mill. And you deserve to have a better time. So I hate to sound preachy, but that's just who I am. I have a soft voice, and I humbly preach.
So tell them the outcome thing.
So outcome thing. Other than getting married 4 years ago, over the space of those 3 years in this service system, there was a group of people that we identified as having complexity. Just by working on the front end, just by looking at welcoming, removing barriers to access, doing the things we actually could do, taking those tiny steps, working on it, drilling it in, building those partnerships, putting our relationships back together. We cut the death rate in half for that population. Cut it in half. Now, I never set that up to be a research project because I could have cared less at that point. Now I wish I had.
But we did publish it.
It is published. The SAMHSA, which is the Federal Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, came and said, would you please write that down? What did you do? And I said, that would be complicated. So we took a swing at it. We published it. Okay, it went up, under their name. but it's not designed as research. So I come before you not telling you this as, you know, go look it up because there's something that somebody else discovered and you can go to a level of nth degree detail around the research evidence. It's like, no, this is from the heart. If you want to use it, it's yours. It's a gift. Okay, I hope you use it. Because for the last 12 years, Ken and I have spent 40 weeks out of every single year on the road. Why do we do this? Because it works. It works. You don't keep doing things that don't work, and you certainly don't spend 40 weeks out of every year away from your own home because you don't believe in it. It works. Okay? So we want to talk to you. We want to think with you. We have already, with this day and the day yesterday, we've already accomplished the thing that needs to be accomplished next, which is just to put it in the ether, let everybody know it's trying to get organized, get the conversations rolling, help everybody inspire the next person they're rubbing elbows with. That's all we came to do in these few days. So we've already been successful. We've already been successful. This is going to change immediately. You're going to start feeling the culture shift. People will position differently with the next person they see. Okay? This is how it works. It's not big and mysterious. It is by doing those small steps. So having a conversation, thinking out loud, really thinking about what this means to you personally, that's important. That's a small step that's critical to the culture shift. Taking it back to your teams, talking about it, thinking about it out loud. That's a small step. That's important. That's how it starts to help. Looking at your own paperwork, looking at your own processes, just questioning them without changing anything. Just questioning them. That starts to shift. That starts to shift. All of that stuff counts. As a matter of fact, you can't do that. You can't do any of this without those small steps. It's all important. You have nothing that you're thinking about that is too small. Okay? So let's talk out loud. Okay?
Where are our microphone people?